We will continue with the Christmas story. Today we will read the story titled I Love You, Mom. Even though it's already Christmas and there are still a few days left until the new year. The exhausted mother returned from the store after a long day at work, dragging her shopping bags across the kitchen floor. Waiting for her was her 8-year-old son named David, who was anxiously recounting what his brother had done at home. While I was playing in the yard and Dad was on the phone, Tom took a crayon and wrote on the wall, on the new wallpaper that Mom put up in the office. I told him Mom would be upset. The mother lamented and raised her eyebrows. Where is it now? Then she left everything there and strode into her little son's room, where he was hiding. She called the baby's full name, and in Western countries, calling both first and last names like this often shows anger. When she entered the room, the child trembled with fear. He knew something terrible was about to happen. For 10 minutes, the mother cursed her child, how she had to save money and how expensive the wallpaper was. After whining about what had to be done to fix the note, the mother accused her child of lacking concern for others. The more she scolded her child, the angrier she became. Finally, she left the child's room, feeling madly angry. The mother ran into the office to verify her concerns. But when she looked at the wall, her eyes filled with tears. What she read was like an arrow piercing the mother's soul. The text reads, I love you Mom, outlined with a heart. And now, no matter how much time has passed, the wallpaper is still there, just as the mother saw it, with an empty picture frame hanging to cover it. It's a reminder to mothers, and to everyone, take a moment to read the writing on the wall. God will bless you. We will continue with the Christmas story. Today we will read the story titled Christmas Love. I am not a follower of God, I have absolute faith in Buddha and his teachings. Therefore, Christmas for me is like any other normal day. A day before that my day was gray, not shimmering red and 5-colored bells. Sometimes even Christmas became 2 strange words. Best in my dictionary, it's just that every year Christmas takes place in the cold weather of winter, and for a long time people have taken it for granted as a special occasion to warm up love and exchange promises, a just default. Both reasonable and unreasonable. Nearly a month before that holiday, in even the most remote places of the streets, immortal Christmas love songs rang out. That was the only thing that evoked a bit of nostalgia in me. There are so many Christmases that pass by me that are dull and monotonous. When people excitedly pulled each other out on the street, eye to eye, lip to lip, hand in hand, I sat alone in the attic listening to sad songs. I didn't cry like I usually do, but my smile didn't be complete. I was indifferent to the Christmas gifts I was given and read congratulatory messages with an obnoxious indifference. I'm alone, always alone since a Christmas so far away I don't remember anymore. I don't like going out to find myself alone. I don't know what to do in the bustling streets, and I don't like going with someone who I don't feel the warmth of my heart for them. Yes, I'm lonely, so what? Everything seems to have become a habit I don't want to keep but don't know how to change. If you hadn't come one day in time to make my heart flutter again, in time to make every ordinary day into a special moment, in time to turn gray into shimmering colors. And I've been kept warm all winter. Every night I still listen to music, but amidst the sad melodies I see clear, gentle sounds singing. However, I still don't have a clear concept of Christmas if it's not close to a day that is extremely special to me. I want to return to the bustling streets of Christmas Eve, together. Sitting in a quiet corner of a restaurant, listening to the breath blending together and the fragrance of heaven and earth. But this Christmas, you and I are separated by half a world. But I've never seen my aloneness as meaningful. Never before have I been so alone. I wake up with faith every morning, an absolute faith like faith in my religion. I go to sleep with pure nostalgia. When I meet you, I know that I feel happiness is real, and because your life is still very far away, I still see happiness and joy existing around me, not just a dream. No more vagueness, no more boring and lonely Christmases. And I want to tell you, happy birthday and Merry Xmas to you. Please always be a strong support for me. Outside, the song Jingle Bell rings like a long, gentle and warm bell. Jingle bell, jingle all on the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. God will bless you. We will continue with the Christmas story. Today we will read the story titled Kiss for Hired Santa Claus. In December, it rained heavily in the north, accompanied by a cold that cut into the skin. The narrow space of the small attic did not ease the sadness and feeling of homesickness. This Christmas, my whole class planned to go out again, but my mother still hasn't sent money. Maybe this season my hometown has had many storms and floods, so my family hasn't been able to harvest anything. Yesterday morning, some people in the same neighborhood told each other about working part-time for charity organizations. The kids invited each other to go look for work. The work is not very heavy, but it is quite time-consuming because I play the roles of 2 Santa Clauses. We left home at 6 o'clock in the evening and returned well after midnight. Some days I work at a center for poor children, other days I work at an association for the disabled, and sometimes I work at an orphanage. The days leading up to Christmas we have to travel more and more. The day I stood at the gate of a suburban elementary school, it was very late, but there was a little girl who still hadn't returned. The baby stared at me but didn't dare come closer. I came next to the baby and asked softly, "What's wrong?" The baby smiled, his eyes still full of joy. "Santa Claus, do children who study well receive gifts? This morning I got a bad grade in math, I'm afraid I won't get a gift." I smiled lightly. "No, you give it all. But if the child is good, he will be happier." The child was surprised and looked at me. "So I've made you too sad?" The baby cried, hot tears falling all over my hand. It seems that during last night, because we were so tired, we forgot to smile at many children, including her. "Okay, shut up. These two old men are not sad, but you have to try harder." The baby smiled, his eyes still filled with tears. "So when we go to deliver gifts to the children, did you two receive any gifts from anyone?" I stepped forward. "No, you two just brought gifts and helped the children realize their dreams. I'm Santa Claus, so what else do I need?" The baby walked closer to me, close to "Hi, I'll give it to you too," then gently kissed our cheeks. The two of them were stunned but still didn't forget to smile at the baby before he left. A warm feeling spread across my cheeks, then my whole body. A little sweetness mixed with enjoyment. I suddenly thought that I have never wished for a gift for myself. It seems like my childhood is over and the story of Santa Claus has faded into the past for a long time. It turns out that wearing a red and white outfit and giving gifts to children doesn't mean you have fulfilled the role of Santa Claus. Santa Claus only truly exists when we communicate with each other. Sharing human love is not only about hastily distributed gift boxes but also innocent and meaningful kisses. Thank you, cute girl, for giving hired Santas like us an interesting memory during the Christmas season. God will bless you. We will continue with the Christmas story. Today we will read the story titled Apostle in the Family. Cecilia's family lives in northern Italy, in a poor working-class neighborhood. From early morning, my father, a worker, had to go to work and didn't return home until 8 or 9 p.m. Therefore, Cecilia rarely meets her father. As for the mother, she takes care of housework and does side jobs to earn a little extra for the family budget. She is very charitable and moral. Although her family's finances were not prosperous, she immediately shared whatever she had with her neighbors. To anyone who was sick, she donated medicine, ragged clothes, she spent time sewing for them, and to anyone in need, she helped to the best of her ability. Everyone in the village loved her and praised her for being a gentle and kind person. Little Cecilia was only 6 years old when she went to elementary school. She was very proud of her mother and felt like she lived in a happy family and was loved by her mother. For the past 2 years at the parish school, Cecilia has been trained to live the Word of God, seeing Jesus abandoned in the oppressed and suffering people. I am very obedient and often share life experiences with my friends. One day, it was like a bucket of cold water splashed on a friend's face and said, "Hey Cecilia, your mother is really nice but extremely miserable. What's wrong? Don't think your family is happy, because every night your father comes home drunk. He beat and cursed your mother. Every neighbor heard it. If you don't believe it, just sneak up and see." Those words were like lightning hitting Cecilia's ears. So many beautiful dreams about family were instantly shattered and collapsed. All pride turned to shame. Too embarrassed by her friend, Cecilia bowed her head and remained silent. That night, Cecilia's mother let her eat early so she could have time to study, then she took her upstairs. After finishing her evening prayer, she hugged and kissed her child, covered him with a blanket, then gently went downstairs to work and waited for her husband to come home and eat together. But that night Cecilia couldn't sleep. She decided not to sleep to see if the story her friends told her in the afternoon was true. I kept tossing and turning until the doorbell rang. Cecilia clearly heard her mother open the door. Quickly throwing away the blanket, she gingerly walked down the stairs, hiding behind the curtain and nervously watching. A horrifying scene was taking place in front of Cecilia. The 3 girls had messy hair and their breath smelled of alcohol. He threw his hat and clothes on the floor. His mother gently collected them and put them in the closet, happily setting the table to invite her husband to dinner. His eyes were bloodshot, he glared at her and criticized her back and forth, then poured out a series of curses like crazy. The mother bowed her head and remained silent, eating and crying. Moments later, he pushed the entire tray of rice onto the floor, the dishes shattered, the food spilled out. Not satisfied, he also gave his wife cruel kicks. Behind the curtain, Cecilia dies. I whispered, "That's right, you guys didn't say anything unfairly, the whole neighborhood knows, so humiliating." Forcing herself to stand up, Cecilia tiptoed upstairs. The next day, the tragedy happened again before Cecilia's eyes. However, every morning Cecilia saw her mother cheerful and suppressed her heart to rush into the work of serving her small children. As for Cecilia, she was mentally disturbed and heartbroken. I thought, prayed, remembered God's words and loved my mother very much. I saw that although she was suffering because of her husband, she still loved and respected her. Jesus is being abandoned by his father and mother, Cecilia is convinced of that. I wondered and thought, but didn't know what to do. Finally, God enlightened me with a very good miracle. From then on, Cecilia lay awake every night waiting for her father to come home. As soon as I heard the bell ring, I immediately went to the gate to greet my father and put away his coat and hat for him. As soon as she pulled out a chair for her father to sit, she turned to help her mother set the table. During the meal, I sat next to my father, chirping and telling funny stories at school, asking about his work at the office. At first, my father was very surprised and grumbled in discomfort, but gradually he had to give in and felt happy inside. Many times Cecilia stood in the middle of the theater for her father to listen to the songs at her school. Very enjoyable. The family atmosphere is increasingly gentle and pleasant. Every time he said, "Cecilia, go to sleep, so you can wake up early tomorrow to go to school." Cecilia all cooed, "I love you, Dad, I'm tired all day and I want to sit with you forever." Even though he was still tipsy, he was still touched by his son's simple words, then wrapped his arms around him and kissed him lovingly. 3 months have passed, the tragedy of the past has receded into the past. One day, as usual, Cecilia's father said, "Go to sleep, you have to wake up early to go to school tomorrow." Cecilia lovingly hugged her father and said, "Dad, do you know why I don't go to sleep?" "Dad, I don't know. Why are you staying up nonsense? It's harmful to your health." "No, Dad. If you love me, please allow me to say it. But don't scold me." "Yes, tell me, Mom and Dad." Cecilia ventured to recount simply how touched and humiliated she was by her friend's words and how every night behind the curtain she witnessed everything. Cecilia confessed that she loved her parents very much. "I see Jesus being abandoned in my parents, so I want to bring Jesus to my parents, loving the abandoned person in my parents." The more they heard, the more they felt. They were both happy and sad. They did not expect her to be so wise and virtuous. Cecilia's parents hugged her tightly and looked at each other in tears. A moment later Cecilia's father then blurted out, "From now on, you have to go to bed early, do you hear? I promise you, Mom and Dad will get along and love each other. We will also learn and live the Word of God like you. We love you. I'm so happy." The only way to transform your friend's soul is to accept him as he was in the beginning, because being loved is a necessary condition for transformation. God has given you a dear friend and beautiful, innocent children. To help each other become saints, what have you done? God will bless you. We will continue with the Christmas story. Today we will read the story titled Santa Claus Doesn't Wear Red. The father and son drove to the urban area to shop. The 4th grade girl asked her father, "Many people at school say there is no Santa Claus. You guys say I'm stupid for believing that you're real, but I believe what you tell me, don't you, Dad?" The car pulled over to the side of the road and turned off the engine. The little girl is still full of thoughts. "Your friends at school were wrong, my dear. Santa is real. But I need to tell you more about Santa Claus. I think you're old enough to understand what I'm going to share with you." The father looks at the child affectionately. Once upon a time there was a man who traveled around the world, giving gifts to the children on his way. He was known in many places by many different names, but the love in his heart was the same, no matter where he goes. He is a soul of absolute love and wants to share that love, by giving gifts with all his heart. When children reach a certain age, Ong really isn't necessary. Is the person who enters the house through the chimney at night, before Christmas. The spirit and true life of this lovely mythical old man is forever in my heart, my mother's heart, as well as the hearts of all those who believe in bringing joy to others. The true spirit of Christmas is what you give, rather than what you receive. When you realize this and when it becomes a part of you, Christmas will become more interesting and magical. Do you understand what I said? The girl looked at the trees ahead. She was afraid to look at her father, who once told her that Santa Claus was real. She wanted to believe, as she had believed last year, that Santa Claus was a jolly, fat old man dressed in red. She didn't want to have to understand otherwise. "Look at Dad," the father called, and the little girl turned to look at him. The father cried, tears of joy. His face shone with the light of the entire Milky Way, and the little girl seemed to see in his eyes, the eyes of Santa Claus. The real Santa, who spent a lot of time choosing the special gifts she wished for in past Christmas seasons, since she was present in this world. Mr. Knoll ate the bread that she had worked so hard to decorate, as well as drank a cup of hot milk that she had mixed herself. She realized happiness, sharing, and love. The father hugged his child in his warm arms and held him like that for a long time. They both cried, "Now you belong to a special group of people. From now on you will be able to share the joy of Christmas every day of the year, not just one day of the year. From now on, Santa has lived in my soul. This is the most important thing that happens to you, in your life. Because now, I understand that Santa could not exist, without people like me and Dad, who make him live forever. Can you complete this?" Her heart wanted to burst with happiness.